Hello everyone and welcome to SpaceChem Tournament 2024 Week 9 Chess. As usual, this is technically the last usual, well, not technically, this is the last normal level, which means it is a computation one. Specifically, what this means for this time is you are given a chessboard that looks like this, and which includes the following information. Carbon is the position of the white king, black omega is the position of the black queen, and delta is position of the black knight. The task is very simple. You have to determine whether the king is in check or not. Of course, there are three possibilities. Rather, two possibilities. Okay. Anyway, either the king is in check directly by the queen, like here, or it is in check by the knight, or it is not in check by either, or it is blocked from the queen check by the knight. Those are all the possibilities which you will have to choose between. Unusually for computation, instead of giving you a pre-placed reactor 0, you now have a rule where you must input the next input only after sending the previous output. Well, only after sending the previous output into the output. And specifically, the format of the output is encoded by this input. An output of carbon means the king is not in check, and an output of omega means the king is in check. You have several different reactors to choose from, but they're all essentially identical. Only thing that differs is the number of teleporters and whether or not you have fusion. Because there is no real fusion here, we are not going to see any fusion, so basically forget about the existence of fusion. Oh yes, the metric is simply cycles multiplied by symbols. So in other words, you have to optimize both. As a computation puzzle, it cannot be properly completed in SpaceChem itself. It can only be evaluated by the bot, which will actually determine which output corresponds to which input, and will run 200 inputs, which will determine the number. Well, which will determine the score of the solutions. So this week we have five scoring solutions, and as usual, single waldo solution by Sacred Foundry, but that will come later. First of all, in the last place, we have spiritual shampoo with the solution name en passant. And oh my god. Thank you, Spiritual Shampoo, for sending an explanation of your solution. Oh wait, I'm just kidding, he did not send an explanation of his solution. Where to begin with this? Let me preface by saying that I have been looking at this for like half an hour, and I have no idea what most of this does. So, let's begin. The solution begins with a something that we will see fairly commonly. It rotates the input until carbon is in one of the top in a known quadrant. This time it's the top right, but of course it could be arbitrary quadrant. Then red gets triggered by this trigger and moves, by this sensor and moves on and grabs it and rotates. Why he does this way, I don't know, but whatever. Oh yes, forgot one more thing. The special rule that that the new input must come no earlier than the previous output basically requires you to have your first reactor both handle the initial input and handle the final output. So anyway, oh yes, let me just do a quick aside about the test cases. We have 8 test cases, which with straight queen check, blocked knight block, another queen check, another block, nothing, queen check. Well, anyway, I don't know I'm explaining everything, but basically all possible cases are checked in this by those. Right. Okay, so we rotate and we input this verified thing with carbon known in the top left. This construction is also going to be fairly common. What it does with those 3 carbon sensors is it ensures that the carbon will be placed in a known space, and specifically this 4th tray. Now, what happens now is frankly, I have no idea what the hell is happening. I have looked at this for a long time, and it's basically just black magic. I'm sorry. What is this notation? I don't understand. Sorry. I can. So let me just do the following. I will put the pause until we get a until we get the same thing, and specifically the knight check, because when the knight check, something comparatively simple happens. Red, because as we remember, carbon is known to be in the top right quadrant. There are exactly 4 positions where a knight can give check, which we are checking right now. So we know that the knight is check, and that's it. We can remove the carbon and drop the remaining board. We don't care about any of it. Here, what happens here is oh yes. Frankly, I don't know how to comment this, because this is such a wild mess. But basically, this is remember, if the knight check, it comes in here, where it actually merges 2 inputs. What happens here is both of those streams result in carbon being placed here, then dropped here, where something happens, while everything that's not carbon gets trashed. So this was the knight check, and now for the other checks and non-checks. I have no idea what's happening here. We are removing the top right quadrant. We are splitting into quadrants, all of which get dropped into the top output. One thing I can tell is that if we wait until if we have carbon not in this middle position, what will happen is instead of outputting only a 2x2, we are outputting 3x3, and then we are sending in some garbage. Okay, let me remove this pose. Okay, so what's happening in here? I'll just let this play because I don't know how to explain this. I do not have instructions for this. I know I'm repeating myself a lot that I do not know how this works, but I really do not know how this works. We are adding a handle. We are adding another handle. Somehow this works. Of course, I'm not IEEE. I cannot just magically extract meaning from unknown things, but I don't think he would be able to do it either. So let's just watch those things and guess what's happening here. I promise the remaining solutions make much more sense and they will be commented much more coherently. How should I say? Will be commented at all. Okay, I have no idea what's happening here. Just believe me that this does what this works. What this is supposed to do. This was spiritual shampoo with the score of 29,007 and 305. Because minus pose, and a metric of 883. Let's just forget about this and move on to same things. Next, we have ToughThought with the solution name Break It Up. Okay, now one thing that immediately jumps to attention is that he does not have a loop back. He does not have a loop back. Okay, he does not have a loopback and instead relies on this long manual delay using flip-flops to ensure the fulfillment of the rule. I'm not quite sure why he did it this way, because I'm pretty sure this is significantly slower than the proper checking with the loopback, but whatever. We have what we have. So, what is happening here is, as usual, we begin with rotation until we have carbon in the top left quadrant, and now the second reactor. And here's the interesting part. So what's happening here is, we did not see it just now, but we just now regrab using this system in such a way that red is known to hold the carbon. Now he does something interesting. Instead of the way ToughThought solution works is that instead of it's in a way the reverse of the expected logic. Instead of checking where the queen and the knight is, he's checking that they are not in the places where they are not giving checks. So let's demonstrate how this works. Thank you, ToughThought, for actually sending me the explanation. This really helped. Okay. So what we are doing now is we are sending the okay, if the carbon is in the position 1 1, Then we are trying to send the atoms in positions 4, 2, 4, 3, 3, 4, and 2, 4 into the top output. And we'll see why in a moment. For now, we just sending, rotating, sending some more, sending, rebonding. Remember, this is the initial corner, atom. Now, and now we input H from the we input H, which is just an auxiliary input. By the way, I forgot to set the timing, but whatever. Okay. Input the H, which gets sent in the same top output for reasons we'll see in just a moment. Now, okay. What the atoms we've sent just now, the 4 atoms I just described, if you look at the positions, those are the 4 positions where neither queen nor knight can do anything, can ever give check. Now we are sending 2 atoms in positions 2, 3 and 3, 2. Those are the positions where the knight will give check, but queen will not. We've sent 1 atom, we will rotate, we will send another atom, and we will again shift. So here ToughThought did another interesting things. This vertical line is our initial vertical line. This horizontal line is our initial horizontal line, but this is our initial diagonal. And moreover, because carbon aka king is in the top left corner, so those 3 horizontal atoms are the initial diagonal. This is extremely useful, as we will see in a second. We've sent just now the knight atoms from 2, 3 and 3, 2, and now we are sending another we are sending another hydrogen, which is a signal. And everything that remains has been sent down to the bottom. So let's look at what's happening in this reactor, where, remember, we got sent those 4 atoms, then H, then those 2 atoms, then another H. Or rather, at most 4 atoms, because of course if carbon is not in the corner, then we will be sending fewer atoms. So we are looking at reactor number 3. Yes. What's happening here is okay. On the initial pass, before any hydrogen was inputted, we are just checking for the presence of the queen, and we are trashing everything that is not the queen by this drop and this output omega. We got knight, but we are trashing it as well because it's in the position where a knight cannot give check. We got the signal which triggers this red, and now we will receive two potential knight positions. And this is the second hydrogen, which will actually be placed in another position and not immediately trashed. And that's basically all that this reactor does. It trashes everything except for omega in the in any of the 6 potential positions, and except for knight in the 2 knight positions. It's a bit hard to describe, but the 6 potential omega positions are the positions where the queen will not give check, but night position, but the potential night input shows that the night does give check from this position. Now we will go back to the second reactor and watch what happens to the remainder. And remainder gets sent into the fourth reactor, where we exploit this interesting configuration of verticals and horizontals in the following way. Okay, this thing starts the red, and what is happening here is after the following cycle, after touching the thing, blue now touches the first the first neighboring atom, in such a way that okay, how describe this? As you can see, red has one of several passes that it can follow. If it immediately sees night, then it is if it immediately sees the night, then it will not. It is known to not be check. If we then follow, we then see the queen in either of the two following positions, meaning either here or here. On the other hand, if we do not immediately see the night, we move to the next position and now check whether the knight in this position. If the knight is in this position, then we will check only whether the queen in the last position. In other words, this extremely compact force sensor structure allows us to determine pretty much the most inconvenient part of this level when the knight is blocking the queen. Okay, this was the vertical. Now we will rotate and run this exact same check on the horizontal. And now, because remember those are actually the diagonals, we now do this exact same check on the diagonals. And again, it works extremely compact and extremely cleanly. Of course, if at any point we have determined that we have a sequence of first knight then queen, we would have outputted the omega and carbon in this position, meaning it is not check. But because we did not, we instead swap their positions to mark that it is not yet check, but it is potential check. And now the final reactor, where we merge the two streams. Okay. So, lazy comment asks, how does the time when the next input comes in? It does it simply by having this massive flip-flop delay, which is ToughThought guarantees is guaranteed to be slower than the longest possible handling of the molecules, which does well. It follows the rules. So here we have, if you remember, in reactor form, the way it works is after we may be sending some Greeks, meaning knights and queen, in the top output, and regardless of whether we have sent anything or not, this sequence will be terminated by a hydrogen in the bottom left position. So here we are, so here red inputs until it senses that hydrogen has been inputted. Now we input the two signals. So here is the logic of this reactor. If if we have the initial position, meaning the carbon in the bottom, then this means this output has been triggered, which means that the knight is blocking the queen, which means it is definitely not in check. Now, in the top, we can input either omega or delta or both. And if both, then they will be bound. So the way, as I mentioned, it works in the omega and the delta in the top output, in the top input, work in a bit in the opposite way. If delta is inputted, then we know that the knight is in check position, and it must be checked. On the other hand, if queen has been inputted in the top position, then we know that it is not in check because queen has been discarded from. Because if queen was checking, then it would remain as part of the structure, and it would not go into the top input. Even though we have never explicitly made any checks for any explicit checks for the positions for queen checks in positions where it will not be blocked by the knight. So that's pretty much it. I can well, let me just show a few things about okay, so if we input in the corner, then we have seen the way it works. If we input in the inner position, then this initial pass does not swap anything because of course there are no atoms here. Here neither. So H only. So basically, we immediately output H without previously outputting anything. This was the knight. This was the knight position. Oh yes, forgot that we can have some garbage which will be which we know is garbage because we are inputting alpha and it does not have any carbon. Now we will get some garbage. So how do we okay. Let's actually describe what's happening here. Or rather, how to interpret this specific configuration. We have queen in the on the diagonal. It is not being blocked. So another way, we are expecting it to end up in this structure. And indeed, it does end up in this structure. Knights are never seen, so everything works fine. We never input omega from the top input, so we are just discarding we are just discarding H, and we are just discarding H. Okay, and basically the default position is omega in the top. Omega meaning check is the default answer. That's what I'm trying to say. So instead of checking the positions where a queen can give check, we are instead checking positions where queen will not give check. Sorry for the sorry for the terrible explanation, but that's just how I roll. That's why I usually have I do this. Okay. Now we have queen blocked by the knight. So we will see. So after this reconfiguration, we will see a trigger on the second pass. Bam and bam. So now in the default position is carbon. And okay, now let's look for some position where okay, how do we okay, I want queen on the top, which will be okay, now good, queen is on the top. So both of those things have been discarded. Queen is on the top. Okay. So we have inputted queen, and because and because we have sensed queen, then we will swap the default position, which, remember, the default position was omega. So that's how it works. I don't think there's anything more interesting here to say. This was ToughThought with the cycles with 23,000 cycles and 212 symbols for a metric score of 484. So a 400 point drop almost by half. Third place, Flight Risk, which is Vipumei, GG Goal and Rex Kicks, with solution name of DeepSot 2.8. So we begin with a familiar beginning. We rotate until carbon is in the known position. In the second reactor, oh, by the way, I added this post, it was not here originally. We are discarding. Basically, all that's happening here is we are discarding those two particular atoms, which again are known to be useless regardless of what they are, because even if there's something here, nothing can give check. Nothing can give check, and yeah, and basically those first two reactors are just prelude for this monstrosity of the third reactor, which looks like it came straight from Carnation system. Whew. So, how do we... Okay. How to describe this spaghetti mess? Basically, all it does is passes over the correct sensors in the correct order, and somehow it all is fit into the single reactor, and somehow this all works out. I don't know how, it just does. So, for example, we have just passed the thing which set off blue. Now, we check for queen in the corner, in the far off corner. We check for queen in this corner. Now we rotate again. We check for queen in this corner. So basically, we begin with the distance of 3. We will check for knights, for the potential presence of knights later on. Okay, what's happening here? I think we are checking for what are we checking for? Oh yes, we are now checking for the queen on distance 2. So we are checking on this for 2 on this diagonal. Yes, now checking for knight or queen 2 spaces away. I'm a wait. If knight is known to be in this position, why are we? No, wait. Oh, right. We are on the we are on the branch where we have detected the queen. So now we are detecting where the knight is in this specific position. Right. Okay. And because it is not, if it were actually, okay, something would happen, but because it is not, something else happened. Only the best commentary. So yeah, none of the following checks do anything because of course we have already detected that the king is in check, so we don't need to do anything else here. And this is actually the only real reactor of this solution. So because we have detected that the king is in check, we do a swap and the output, and that's basically it. What interesting things I can show here? Okay. Okay. Wait, it's the same thing. Am I blind? Okay. Now let's see how it handles the knight blocking check. Wait, I missed it already. Tins. Okay. We trigger this omega, so okay. So what this specific sensor is checking for is the knight on this specific position. But because it is not on this position, but actually on this position, we will actually have a very long delay. Until we finally check it in this position. I have no idea how Flight Risk managed to fit all this into the single reactor. Remember, we have to check 3 directions of queen for a total of 9 total possible positions of queen, and additionally 6 possible blocking positions of knight, and additionally I think 4 possible position of actual knight check. So I have no idea how they managed to do this, but basically, okay. Now let's no. Let's now let's see what happens if the king is not in the corner position. The usual carbon sensing and alignment to make sure that we are grabbing the king. Now all the usual, well, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. This entire top section with this massive number of omega sensors in a row that we are checking, beginning to check right now, is the part where we check for neighboring queen, which cannot be blocked. And as you can see, red follows this loop and visits all of those in a row. And because we have sensed the check, we do a swap, and that's basically it. Let's show what a knight check would look like. Okay, knight check. So how does knight check work? Okay. So this sensor checks for the knight in this specific position. And a completely different sensor checks for the knight in another in this position. So basically, anti-symmetric solution, even though we are checking for rotationally symmetric positions in completely different places. I'm repeating myself, but I have no idea how they managed to fit all this into a single reactor, but they did. And either way, this was flight risk with 20,000 cycles and 186 symbols for a metric score of 373. So a 110 metric point drop. By the way, interesting observation. With one exception, all scores for today, we will see dropping both symbols and cycles on each progression up the leaderboard. Only once we will see an increase. So, going against the usual logic, where either your solution is fast or it is low in symbols, this time it is both fast and low in symbols. Okay, second place, we have Team Sacred Foundry, which is Lazy Comet and Yellow Bunny, with the solution name King in the Corner, plotting world domination. Team Sacred Foundry, where are you? Okay. So, first reactor, we've seen this every time. Rotate until a known quadrant. Bam, done. Okay. And here we do something very, well, every solution is very interesting, but this time is also interesting. How? Very eloquent. Okay. We perform a head on from red to blue. This chain of grab, drops, and sensors ensures that the blue is always grabbing carbon. Now, as you can see, we have those two sensors here, which we will do a lot of work on. blue. First thing we check whether then remember night can be in one atom up, meaning those positions could also be filled. So first we check for the knight in this position, then queen in this position, and this position, and then we rotate and do a fairly similar check going the other way. So what we have checked just now using this fairly simple construction is whether the queen is in position next to the king, and if it's in position next to the king it cannot be blocked, so it's guaranteed to be check. At the end we do some trimming, which we will see if okay, let's pause here. Okay, let's do this and okay. Okay, after running this check, we regardless of the result, we can discard this bottom row, because we have already checked it for neighboring queen and knight 2 and 1 away, and if it's neither of those, then we don't care about this row. So we can make the molecule smaller. So we can make the molecule smaller for the next reactor. So in the next reactor, king is always in the bottom right corner, and we don't know the size of the molecule. Okay, let's restart and. Okay, I want to show what happens. Okay, this is a good illustration. Okay, so red sensors neighboring queen, meaning we are known to be in check. So what happens now is similar to ToughThought. We use hydrogen as for signaling. We input hydrogen and we drop it in the top output, which shows that this is known to be check. And now something very interesting happens. Okay, I already said this, but now something really interesting happens. I actually should probably... Okay, let's actually delay the interesting part until a bit. For now, let's show the boring part. In the initial configuration, nothing much happened. We did not detect check, so it passes into the third reactor. And in this reactor, we are checking for distant queen with potential night blocking. We see this familiar for sensor structure, which we've seen already previously. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm actually not sure why we are checking for the ignite here, because this is 4 away from the from the start, from the king, I mean. Why are we checking for knight here? Huh, interesting. Well, anyway. Yeah, the same omega sensors gets used to check for the position 2 away and 3 away in the diagonal, but oh, right. Okay. Actually, do we have any any situation where we could have? Oh, okay. I don't. We do not have such an input, but so anyway, we detect omega, but we do not detect delta, which means that we know to be in check. So we swap this, and basically this. The carbon sensor fixes the case where the second sensor would mess something up. I'm not sure what you mean, but anyway. Okay. Oh yes, we swap carbon and immediately output it, which leaves omega, which means we are in check. Okay. This is okay. Let's see how the blocking is handled. Oh, the edge case never occurs in the 200 inputs the bot tests. I'm sorry, I thought 200 would make a good balance. Because there are 3,360 total possible configurations, and we are testing 200 out of them with a bias towards blocking positions like this, because of course they are much rarer than the other 3 cases. I mean, check, queen check, knight check, and no check. Okay. So. So as I mentioned, this is the usual configuration. We detect omega and then delta either immediately afterwards or 2 after delta, which means we perform 2 swaps, which means we trash omega and output carbon. Okay, now let's look at the interesting part, which I mentioned previously. We look at the neighboring cells. We detect omega, which means the red follows this, drops hydrogen, and hydrogen gets input. Now, what happens when hydrogen gets input is we bypass this whole thing. Remember, hydrogen means we already detected that we are in check. So we send omega off to the first reactor, and now, even though we are still handling this remaining trash remnant, we already begin handling the next molecule. Which is quite an interesting approach, of course. So I think that's all I have to say about this solution. Okay, I want to see how it will look with corner with when we have omega in the corner. So this is exactly what I'm going to do right now. I should not have done. Okay, whatever. Yes, I did lazy comment. I did indeed just nuke all solutions. Thank you. Okay, now let's. Okay, this is the one I want to look at. Okay, so how does this work? We detect omega in the corner. Okay. We check for night in this position, and we check for night in this position. Yeah. Okay. Oh, right. We have already previously detected the night check, so it doesn't actually do what I want it to. Well, anyway. Now, before I forget, okay, ignore that. So, anyway, this was Team Sacred Foundry in the second place with solution speed of 16,400 and 137 symbols for a metric score of 224. Which is a 150 point drop. And in the first place we have DariusOne with the solution name Maximum Effort. Okay, by the way, there is an interesting visual pattern we are observing. We constantly see that the first reactor is yellow, meaning two teleporters without fusion, and all others are 4 teleporters minus fusion. With the exception of spiritualshampoo, who uses all fusion reactors despite never actually using fusion. Okay, whatever. So, first reactor, as usual, no rotation. Second reactor, as usual, no on grab. No on grab to, so blue is known to be holding carbon. And what follows is okay, let me just refresh my notes. Yes. This in this reactor we are simply checking for the night check. Here, for some reason we are missing this sensor, but that's handled at some other point. And now we will check the 4 possible positions of the 4 possible neighboring positions of omega. Nothing got triggered here, so Oh yes, we are trying to discard some garbage from the bottom, as the same way we saw in the previous solution, but nothing gets trashed here. And that's all this tractor does. And the third reactor is the interesting one because it checks the remote queen checks plus plus possible night blocking. So let's begin from the point from the start. Oh yes, but let's quickly do something here before because it's simple. If we have detected a close queen check, we are short-circuiting the whole thing and just sending off omega. And now, regardless of what we input, we just directly go and trash it. So, if we have not detected a check, then okay, doing some preparation, and now we actually get the molecule, and now the red is off to the races. We immediately begin by checking whether the knight is in neighboring position, because if so, then then we basically skip checking the following two positions for possible queen positions. But it is not here, so we do check it for possible queen positions. Now we do the exact same thing over here. We check whether this is a knight. It is not. I'm actually wait. Why do we need this sensor? We know this is we know this is not a queen because we have already checked for queen in this position. Double sensor also checks the 8. Oh, yes, we have checked for only 7 close positions. Okay. Interesting. Okay. And now if we have not detected a knight in this position, we check for queen in those two positions. And okay, this is the final 8th possible position of the knight. Wait, yes, the last possible position of the knight. And oh, is it? Wait. No. I think I must have messed something up. No. Okay. Where do we check for? Oh, yes. We check for the diagonal blocking later. Okay. So. Interestingly, unlike the usual checks for the Greeks, here we probably for the only time in this among all solutions check for actually nitrogen, because this makes presumably because this makes redirection cheaper. So if this was a knight, meaning it could be potential blocker for the omega, we wouldn't have passed onwards, but because it is not, we short circuit and then do another identical check over here. Yes, we do the same check over here. even though those two paths are the same length and execute no commands either way, what this changes is is when the red will hit this omega when blue is on this position, well, or rather when this position is on the sensor or not. So basically, if we detect a night here, then we will shift off and we will remain in non-check position even if omega is in the top left. Actually, let me just show it right here because I want to, and because you cannot stop me. Okay. Okay. Pause. No, wrong pause. Where do we need to pause? Where do we need to pause? We need to pause here. Okay. And now we are looking at the fourth position. Param, 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 param. Okay, we hit the nitrogen here, but we do not hit nitrogen here, which means we pass onwards, and this red omega is definitely checking off outside the board, which means it will never detect a check, which means which means we are checking the we are doing this swap, which shows that this is not in check with trash omega and output carbon. Very elegant. Everything is, all relevant things are close together, other than this 8th position check of the close queen position and 8th, or rather 4th or 8th, whatever, and the additional knight position. So looks quite nice. Now let's look at what it looks like when let's look at what it looks like when things get trimmed. Yeah, now something should get trimmed, if I'm not mistaken. Bam, 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 bam. This does a fairly similar thing to what we've seen previously in the previous solution, where once we are done with the outer rim, we can safely discard it in such a way that the king is known to be in the corner position, regardless of what the size of the molecule is. So that's pretty much it for this solution. This was DariusOne with cycles of 13,800 cycles and 155 symbols. So the only increase in symbols among all the scores, and a metric score of 214, which is a 10-point drop. So this was all the scoring solutions, and now we have one more non-scoring solutions, which is by Team Sacred Foundry, as usual, single waldo. First reactor, you won't believe what we are doing. Okay, this is okay. What are we doing? I'm actually not sure what we are doing. I'm, this is not spaghetti to the point of spiritual shampoo, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm not quite sure what is happening here, but luckily we have both Lazy Comet and Yellow Bunny in the chat to maybe shed some light on what is happening here. Whew. Okay, so we begin by well, yeah, as usual, as I say, it's doing the same algorithm twice as much space, which is par for the course for the single waldo solutions by Yellow Bunny. Okay, let's just okay, I'm sorry for not commenting, but I don't really know how this works, other than that it follows the same logic as previously. Oh yes, we extract the C to use as a fact bit. Okay, why are we doing this? Oh, right. We don't know whether we have extracted C or not. But other than that, it should be okay. Alright. So previously this was done by the blue waldo, but this time it is done by the red waldo. Oh yes. So basically, we have detected C, so this is basically all garbage. But if we have not, actually, what are we checking for right here? Okay, one second. Hello. Yes. Okay. What are we checking for right here? Okay. We are checking for the corner, literal corner case. And if we are basically checking for the queen in the closed position. Now we are probably going to. No, we are not going to rotate. Why are we not going to rotate? Wait. Wouldn't it make sense to rotate right here to do the same check on the horizontal? After all, we have not. Have we checked? No, we have not checked for the queen left of the king. Queen immediately left of the king. Have we? It was a bit complicated to fit all that in one reactor, so I split into two. Okay, makes sense. So we are only doing partial check for the for close queen checks. So let's what is the bottom doing? No, really, what is the bottom doing? I don't know. I presume it's trimming. Ah, yes, unbonding the row. Do we have any? I'm sorry. Do we? Oh, okay. Good position. Okay. So all this does is debonds the bottom row and checks for part of the close positions. Whew. I'm sorry, what just happened? What are we doing here? Hmm. Okay, I'm not really sure what we are doing here. Okay, but why did we regrab something that is not something different than the king? Couldn't we have just grabbed it and hang on to it? Okay, whatever. We are regrabbing something different than the king. I guess it's more convenient. So this is the continuation of the previous reactor, meaning we check the remaining close position and the night position. And do some more trimming. Okay, how many more? Okay, this is the last. Okay. So what do we have here? Okay. Right now we are checking for possibility of far queen check. Remember, we could still be blocked. Now we are checking the same horizontally. Already done? Where? Okay. Okay, interesting construction. We are... Okay, yes, I can see how this would work. Yeah. So basically, this is the pass. This is the non-check pass. If either we do not hit any queens, or we hit first the queen and then the knight. And if neither happens, like well, okay, let's wait. No, this was supposed to work. Oh, okay. Those were simply. Those were just the. Okay, let's do this way. Okay. Wait a second. Why does this not work? Did I mess something up? Oh, right. We already know this to be in check, so let's like this. Yes, those manipulations are extremely important for proper understanding of what we are looking at. Okay, finally. Whew. So we hit queen, we do not hit the knight, and this is okay. How are those two different? Okay, I'm not. Oh, it makes it uses the rotations. Okay, that's very interesting. So carbon in the top right means check, carbon in the top left means non-check. Okay, interesting. So okay, let's come here. So, if we are not in check, we have one last check to make, which is the diagonals. Okay, we are checking the opposite corner. We are checking the quintet, and aha, okay. So if it's in the opposite corner, instance, okay. Oh, why does this not work? The force position, the force output should 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm just blind. Okay, never mind. Whew. Okay, we detect, and this was the second, and this is the third. Okay. So this is the non-check pass, and this is the check pass. No, this is the check pass. this is the non-check pass, and this is the non-check pass, and those are non-check pass, and the outer are the check pass. Okay. Whew, okay. I think that's enough of the solution. Yeah, very impressive work. I like how this was used, the positioning. Okay, so this was Team Sacred Foundry's fun single waldo solution. And that's okay. Should I say its score? Or does it not matter? Okay, its score was 27,000 cycles and 230 symbols for a metric score of 627. So this would have actually been 5th place if it was scoring. Okay, that's it for this. That's it for this level. If anyone has any questions, I think we will be wrapping up. Okay, looks like nobody has any questions. So in that case, this was week 9 chess of 2024, and we are done. Congratulations to DariusOne for the victory, and we'll be. Oh yes, we'll see you tomorrow. So goodbye.